1, 2, 3, 4.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here. It's Friday night. Yes, it's not Thursday. I'll admit, yesterday I was a little under the weather still from Wednesday. Had a family member come in, so we went out drinking, and one too many Jamesons for me. So before we get into the show, because there's quite a lot to talk about fight-wise, head over to Twitter. You could follow me on my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports. You can follow the show at ST Sports Podcast, and also head over to bellyupsports.com. I do articles over there, plus a bunch of other guys and girls do a lot better articles than I do. Very entertaining people. They have some, t-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that for sale over there as well. So kind of jumping into it, this past week there was a rumor that came out about Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship might be offering Connor Mcgregor a mega money deal to fight Bare Knuckle. We'll touch on that a little bit, and I'm curious to see what goes down with that. Also, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, TJ Dillashaw relinquished his belt after being flagged by the USDA and I believe it was the New York State Commission, not New York City, for PEDs. They didn't announce what it was, but we will get into that, as well as some opinions about how that's been kind of going down. And then to finish off the show, there was a UFC fight last weekend. Jorge Masvidal versus Darren Till at the O2 Arena. Jorge just knocked out. Like, I don't even know how you would want to describe it, but just lights out knockout of Till. A little scrum in the back with Leon Edwards, so there's a little bit of heat there. But all that stuff overshadowed Michael Bisping being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. And I've watched him from the get-go, from the Ultimate Fighter days. So, we're going to talk a little bit about him. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? Is his career match up to some of the other Hall of Famers? But also, before we talk about the whole Conor McGregor thing, go over to iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Play. You can find us there, plus past old episodes, some new ones with me and Shoulder, since we're going on about a month and a half now. Our friend King, who helped me get this show going, some of those old shows are back there. So, and don't be afraid to leave a review or comment on anything, because it's the only way we're going to make this show better and more entertainable for you guys. Because, we may think these topics are what you guys want to hear, but we don't know. So, just, leave us comments and ratings, and so getting into this whole bare knuckle fighting championship, they have a pay-per-view coming up April 6th with Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight. It's well documented. Artem Lobov is one of Conor McGregor's right-hand men, if not his top man. And just, I think it was 2 weeks ago, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship signed Paulie Malignaggi to, I forget, I think it's like a 3 or 4 fight contract. Now, it's a bigger name. Some of the fighters that he's beat in boxing. He's a world champion, so it's not no scrub off the street. Yeah, he's a little older, but he's got a name to him. So, and the little backstory that I talked about was about the infamous, did he trip? Did he fall down when Connor, jabbed him? And ever since then, these two have been jawing back and forth quite a bit. And now a story came out earlier this week that Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship is putting together a mega money deal to try to get Connor to sign and fight Bare Knuckle. Some of the quotes that I found from Paul Malignaggi was, here's one quote. Told by Paul Malignaggi that BKFC are preparing a mega money offer to Connor McGregor for a bare knuckle boxing match with him, meaning Paulie. That was from boxing editor Michael Benson. He insists they have more money than people think, and also confirmed it's possible he could make his June debut against Artem Lobov, which that's when they signed Paulie, they were shooting for. It was a June fight with somebody. Now, I think that would be tough to have Artem Lobov bounce back and fight, just because he's fighting in April. It only gives like a month and a half. Even if they do later in June, it's only 2 months. I don't know how, fighting suspensions, medical suspensions will take into account for that. But I think it'd still be a interesting lead up and stuff like that. Another thing that was said was, I think we'll be able to make him an offer that he didn't even make for the Khabib fight. Let's be honest, his base for the Khabib fight was only $3 million, but BKFC can match those numbers and make it worthwhile for him. Then in the end, it'll have to be worthwhile in that, does he want to take an embarrassing defeat and catch a beating from me? Again, that was from Paulie. I'll tell you what, if Connor signs, I don't think this is going to be a good fight. I mean, I think Connor's going to run through this guy. They have no boxing gloves on. I think Connor is a quicker with his hands. Paulie may have the boxing knowledge and smarts, but speed is a little tougher to defend when you're older. Now, I did see that they also said that they're not going to offer some type of Mayweather type money fight. What was it, like $200 million or whatever they both got. And also, UFC has to sign off on this. So there's a lot of things here that could complicate this, and it could take some time before this could even go through. Now, I could see, if this is taking on Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, I could see Dana White doing the same thing with these guys that he did with Floyd Mayweather, co-promote it, and then sign off that, hey, Connor could fight, 1 fight, 2 fights, whatever. Because also, again, even though Dana White and UFC wasn't part of WWE, Brock Lesnar was bouncing between fighting and wrestling. I still think there was like a behind the door, gag, type thing where they could, got a cut of pay-per-views or whatnot, and so, let's humor here for a second and say Connor does sign. So he comes in, fights Paul Malignaggi, destroys him. Does he stick around? Does BKFC try to keep pony up money? I don't think they would be able to afford him in the long run. I think this would be a good one and done type fight for BKFC. And I mean, I don't know where UFC would be the winner in this, because they're already a huge corporation. They have a huge fan base. It's not like BKFC has a huge fan base right now. So whoever is watching these guys already know who Connor McGregor is. Already know who UFC is. UFC's not going to gain many fans by letting their big name prize fighter go get his face smashed in with no gloves and have the potential of an upset. Now, do they try to set up like a trilogy type thing where, okay, we'll let you have Connor for one of your pay-per-views if you let us have Paul Malignaggi for one of our pay-per-views, and same thing, because the rules are a little bit different with each sport. Obviously with boxing or with MMA and bare knuckle fighting, it's stand-up boxing. You could do that. Only difference is in bare knuckle you can't take your opponent down to the ground, and ground and pound submissions, things like that. So I always did say there is a 1% chance that Connor signs, and the only reason why he would sign is to help put this company on the map and to say, hey, I was the guy that did that. Just like Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, just like Chuck Liddell back in the day, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, like all the big names, the legends. This would be Connor's legend if this bare knuckle fighting championship takes off. So I still don't think, they may have the money, like Paulie's said, but I still don't think they have enough money to sign Connor to at least, even if it's a one and done fight. I think the route that they'd be better off going is hoping Artem Lobov wins, which I think he will, because he's a knockout artist. Have him go against Paul Malignaggi, and that fight could set up to be like the Sam Shoemaker not Sam Shoemaker, sorry, Tony Lopez and Joey Beltran. Could be a very entertaining fight, and it could be a trilogy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks with this. But one thing that we do know about TJ Dillashaw is he is no longer the bantamweight champion. It was announced, I believe, Wednesday that he was popped for PEDs, steroids, whatever you want to call them. They didn't say what he got popped for. He announced that he plans on giving up the belt. The USADA, they couldn't, they weren't available for comment, because I think they have like a policy where they can't comment on anything till all parties involved know about it, know what the drug is that they got tested positive for. But they did announce that it's a 1-year suspension, retroactive to the contest, which was March. I think it was January. I think January is when he fought Henry Cujo, or I forget how you say his name, and also a $10,000 fine. Now, the one thing that's always been kind of following Dillashaw was his former teammate, Cody Garbrandt, has always said that he's, taking steroids and all different types of drugs, performance-enhancing drugs. And Connor, who's not a teammate, has always said that as well. Now, here's, he may be, he may not be. We don't know. This could be a simple, didn't know about the one ingredient in there, in the pill or the vitamin that he was taking that made him test positive. We don't know. But here's my thing, and I understand UFC has to do a better job with the steroid use, but do you guys think it's maybe a little too tough of testing? Because here it is, March, and I would say from this March to last March, it's almost like once a month someone is getting popped for steroids. Now, I know I rant about John Jones always testing positive for something, and most of the time it's coke and other illegal drugs, but back when the TRT, just before the USADA came in and signed the agreement with UFC, back when they had the TRT exemptions for like Chael Sonnen and Vitor Belfort, I understand, as you get older, you're trying to replenish those hormones, but it just seems like you're kind of tarnishing fighters' careers for just little drugs that may not even affect how strong you get or whatnot. Even testing positive for weed. Listen, we all know how weed goes. You get mellowed out, you're slower, you're just relaxed. What fighters wants to go in there all slow and relaxed, and then it comes out that say tomorrow there's the fight, it comes out that he tested positive March 19th, but he's not high the night of the fight. So like, I just think we need to scale this back a little bit, really look at it, at the ingredients, what exactly is banned as far as PEDs, steroids. Then once we think, okay, these are definitely no good, bad, cannot take them, then I think we need to sit all these fighters down, and this goes for NFL, basketball, baseball, all that stuff too. Really, give all the information and make sure these guys understand these are the drugs you're not allowed to take. I understand there's probably fighters out there that take 30 different vitamins, but vitamin 1 may have ABC ingredient, and the D ingredient is banned, and then vitamin 2 has EFG, but the G and the C mixed together kind of makes the D. So it's I just think the fighters and the athletes need to be more informed of what they're allowed to mix, what they're allowed to take, and I think that would help clear this up a little bit. Because again, I don't like TJ Dillashaw, but he's a good fighter. Okay. I've always liked Chael Sonnen. I've always liked, Dan Henderson. Those two were the TRT guys, and they got suspended. Anderson Silva, one of, if not the greatest MMA fighter in UFC history, got popped. Last year? Was suspended for a year? He went all these years, and all of a sudden now he gets popped. I just think we need to sit these athletes down, make sure they understand this is what happens. If you really want to take these vitamins, this is how careful you gotta be. This is what you can't and can do. Now, one fighter that never got popped for steroids was Mr. Michael Bisping, who is the new inductee to the UFC Hall of Fame, which I know they got quite a few guys in there now, and girls. I think Miesha Tate might have been, not Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey was the one earlier this year. I wonder if they have a Hall of Fame yet, like a Canton, Ohio type thing. or is it just at the UFC headquarters? I have to look that up. But so last week during the UFC fight card over in England at the O2 Arena, it was announced that Michael Bisping would be the newest inductee into the Hall of Fame. And at first, I was like, why him? I mean, yeah, he was a champion, but what did he do great? And then, as days went by, I'd be looking at articles about it and, what all went down. And I'll tell you what, he may not have a legend of a record. And yes, he only won the one belt once. But he was a scrapper. I mean, when he got announced to a fight card, you knew there was going to be a good fight, whether he would win or lose. And the thing with the UFC Hall of Fame, there's no voting process. There's no panel of experts that vote these guys in. It just UFC says, all right, let's pick this guy for the Hall of Fame. Now, the thing with Bisping, who's what he's known for is he's a scrapper. He may get knocked down, but he'll get back up and he comes back fighting stronger. And that's pretty much his whole career. Earlier on in his career after The Ultimate Fighter, he would string together a bunch of wins, would start sniffing that belt, and then stumble and have one bad fight, lose, and have to start all over. He also fought during the TRT period. We were just talking about TJ Dillashaw with the steroids. He also, never took this, never tested positive, but had guys like Dan Henderson, Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort have the TRT exemptions and would leapfrog over him because they were the better fighters and they put the better shows on. So it wasn't until I think it was last year or the year before when he finally beat what was his name? Rockhold to win the belt. Luke Rockhold. And he was 37 years old. So again, never got tested positive or never tested positive for steroids and won a belt at 37 years old. He ended up losing the belt to St. Pierre, but again, not without a fight. It was a hell of a fight. And then I think it was like middle of last year is when he announced his retirement. And this I didn't know until I was looking at some articles about it. He had to retire because he started having problems in his good eye. Because if you really look at him, you can tell he has one bad eye. He started having issues with the good eye. So if you're fighting blind, you're not gonna get a license. But so, Michael Bisping, entertainer and fighter, good career, and hey, at least he won the belt at least once. And again, congratulations. And the other thing too that was kind of cool is that they did it in England in the O2 Arena, where he's had a couple good fights over there. So to finish off the show, I'm going to do my what seems to be weekly picks for UFC fight cards, which also UFC's 3 months into their deal with ESPN has extended it 7 more years, and ESPN Plus is the sole provider of the pay-per-views, which seems like it's the new fad. You got the Fight.tv for some wrestling pay-per-views, bare knuckle pay-per-views. DAZN is doing a lot of the boxing stuff. So this weekend we have UFC Fight Night, Thompson versus Pettis. And I think starting off the main card is a women's flyweight, Macy Barber versus JJ Aldrich. I'm going to go with JJ Aldridge just because I've heard Macy before a little bit, but JJ I've heard a lot more of. So I'm going to go with her. And then the only fight that is a catch weight because Luis Pena missed weight by 2.5 pounds is Luis Pena versus Steven Peterson. I'm hoping Steven Peterson wins just because at least he was the professional here and made weight. But Luis Pena is the bigger guy in this fight, so I think it's going to be tougher. Now, you know what? I'm going to stick with Steven Peterson. Luis Pena, he's good, but I'm hoping that maybe Pena wasted a lot of energy and the mental part of it trying to make weight, where Steven seemed like he didn't really have a hard time. So I'm going Steven Peterson over Luis Pena. And then in the flyweight, we have Formiga versus Figueroa. I think that's how you say his name. Man, both these guys have very complicated names. So I'll go with Formiga. I'll be honest, I never really heard of either of these guys, but I love the flyweight. I love the little guys. Like they put entertaining fights on, so hopefully this one will be an entertaining fight. Then at lightweight, we have John Makdessi versus Jesus Pinado. I'm going to go with John Makdessi with a knockout win over Jesus. Then at heavyweight, this should be a good fight. This is the co-main event. Curtis Blades versus Justin Willis. Curtis Blades, I think, is going to be a up-and-comer. Well, he's already an up-and-comer. I think he might be the next champion soon. So I'm going to go with him with the knockout over Justin Willis. And then the main event in the welterweight division, you got Stephen Thompson versus Anthony Pettis. Listen, Anthony Pettis has been on a roll lately. Stephen Thompson is, not to use the same phrase, 3 weeks in a row, is not a slouch. This has potential to be fight of the year. So I'm going to go with Anthony Pettis. I think this is his one last run because he is getting older. And I'm hoping he pulls it out because he's an entertaining fighter. So with some of the kicks he does and off the cage when he fought Ben Henderson. So let's hope that Anthony Pettis wins because I've been doing terrible with these picks. Not sure if I'm going to be doing a live tweet with you guys because I'll be in Philadelphia all day tomorrow, taking my youngest one to his first Flyers game, and then coming home recording with Shoulders to get that show out. So we'll be back-to-back shows for you guys. So with that all being said, if you guys head over to Twitter, you can follow me on my personal one at Jimbo ST Sports. You can follow the show at ST Sports Podcast. You can follow Shoulders at Shoulders_bro. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, pretty much any of them out there anymore. I have us on. So till tomorrow, this is your good friend Jimbo signing off.